Well, welcome back. 2002 Ford Ranger rear-wheel drive. Just did the upper and lower ball joints on this. It needs front brakes. These are spindle brakes. They have, bearings and everything in them, so they're a little different than most of your cars today, which are just the rotor on top of the hub. So we're going to go through and we're going to do the brakes on the front brakes on this. Remove the caliper. These are 14 millimeter slide bolt, and 15 to do the mounting bracket. One's back inside of here, and then the bottom one's where they normally are, top and bottom. You'll see. All right, 15 millimeter. Just break these loose. These shouldn't be that tight. Not very big bolts. Try not to blind you. I'm gonna hit my light 50 times because it's right in my way. Grab my flashlight too. The top one. Down here, get the bottom one. Yeah, let's go the right way. Let's not blind you. And I'm gonna hit that a whole bunch of times, I know. I've already hit it twice. Okay, just set them aside. See if we can move this a little bit. If we can. It's kind of hard to get in there. Try to compress the piston just a little. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay. Let's set that off of there. And I'm just going to set this back and tuck it in on the control arm for now. Actually, rotate it over. Tuck it in there so it stays put. These pads are getting replaced. Rotors, there's pad life left, but they're pretty bad. The rotors are pretty torn up. This was done before by somebody, poked a hole in it. So we're going to put a new dust cap on the end here, a grease cap. I guess it's a grease cap. I don't know, whatever it's called. It's got a hole poked right through it. Not by me, but it doesn't really matter who did it. It's done. So we're going to redo it. Pull a cotter pin. Get that off of there. I just had this part. I had to put it back together because I'm waiting on parts. It's when I did the upper and lower ball joints. It's just a lot easier to do with this stuff not on there. Okay. Spacer off there. You should be basically, yeah, finger tight. I put it on there, so shouldn't be that tough coming off. We're gonna clean this out again. Take that bracket off. Get a rag. So this one here, up top, is in behind the arm, control arm. You can get on it though, it's not that hard to get on it. Shouldn't be that hard. I'll find it. Should be, but of course I'm fighting it. There it is. Not too bad. And a little bit at the bottom. See if we can get it. We're going to go around this way to get it. I like to get it from this side because I can push down on them to get them loose. I might be able to. Maybe. Yeah. A lot of these are pushing down on them, trying to pull up on them. There's one bolt. Hold my bracket. See if I can get the other one. Alright, set the bracket aside for now. Another bolt. Now, I'm just going to pull this out a little bit. Hopefully I got it. Man, I gotta trying to get this where I'm not blinding you and not right in the way. It's just about impossible. You want to pull it out just a little bit and then push it back in take your spacer and your bearing. This outside bearing's been repacked because I had it off of there when I was doing the upper and lower ball joints, so I repacked it, but I do have to do the inside one. So I know I was going to come back in here. Now, what I like to do, there's a seal, oil seal, on the inside of the rotor. Holds the bearing. Yeah, keeps the dirt and garbage out of it. It's in pretty bad shape. At least the other side was, and I'm guessing this side is too. I like to put the nut back on there. Just thread it on a little bit. And then what I usually do, because I got to replace that seal, is I'll slide this down on the spindle, and then I'll pop it, and it pops that seal out. You can pull the seal with a puller after you get it off of there, but usually they come right off. And then put that back down in there. There's my bearing. This oil seal, which is about shot. There's not much left of it. And these rotors, let me show you this rotor. You can see how rusty, and they're really bad. So they're done. That's why we're doing them. I'm going to go clean this. If you have parts cleaner, obviously you know how to do this. You don't have to tell me. I'm just going to use brake cleaner because I don't have a parts cleaner. And I'm going to get the grease off of here and clean this all the way out, and I'll repack this bearing. I'll show you that. I'll show you repacking it, how I do it. Just for fun. But let me go clean it out. Make sure that the bearing is not pitted. The rollers aren't pitted or messed up. You want to check that. These actually look pretty good. I'm looking at them. I looked at them before. I had it off of here before. Well, actually, I didn't look at the inside. I looked at the outside. But these, I don't see any pitting or anything. I'll check them once I clean it. Just wipe this down. Clean it off here. Okay. Let me go clean that, and then we'll come back and we'll repack it. Alright, so I've got my bearing here, cleaned out, checked it. It's not pitted or scored or anything. It actually looks good. If it's pitted or scored, rusty, shouldn't be rusty, but if it is, sometimes it happens, you want to get a new one. These are fine. I'm going to repack it. I got wheel bearing grease here. I'll just show you how I do this. They have little press, packers for this, but I don't have one, and I don't generally use them because I don't do them that much. When I clean it, you should be able to look down right between the roller bearings and look all the way through it and see daylight. Basically, you want them that clean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it in to the larger side here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my hand. You can do it with a glove, or your hand, doesn't matter. This is wheel bearing grease. I'm just going to kind of force it down into the bearings, and I want to force it down until it goes all the way through and comes out the other side. I'm going to do that all the way around, basically. And it doesn't take that much to do it. Just keep pushing it in, and see it's coming out the other side. That's what I want to see. I want to see it go all the way through, fill all the spaces up, and force out the other side. And I just go all the way around. I'm going to do that. It's exciting, I know, but you have to do it. Pushed all the way through the bearings, all the way around. Make sure they're nice and full. I've got my rotor here. Tilt the camera down so you can see what we're doing here. Let me get my seal too. Yeah, you can see that. New oil seal, grease seal, dust, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to take some more of my bearing grease, wheel bearing grease here. I'm going to put some on the race inside, and I'm going to put a little more in the middle. You don't need a ton, but you do want to get some in there. Okay. Get my bearing. Put my bearing down in there. Seat that. I haven't cleaned these rotors. I will clean them with brake clean. Wipe them off. These need to be wiped down. You can use a large socket for this. You can just use the hammer and be careful. I have a seal driver. It makes it a little easier. I'm just going to set that seal in place. Either use a socket that's big enough if you have one, or just use a seal driver like I have here. Here's the difference. That's it for the seal. Bearings in, new seals in. We're gonna flip this over. Keep the grease off it as much as I can. I'm gonna put a little more grease on this, the outer race, and a little more grease in it. Middle there. Don't need a ton. I do like to have a little bit in the middle though, between the bearings, between the races. Okay. Now it's ready to slide back on. I do put a little bit on the spindle as well. Let me tilt you up here. I do want to put a little bit on there. It's my preference, not a ton, but I do want to coat it. Alright, I haven't cleaned these yet, like I said, but I will. Slide this on, just careful. Slide it in place. Push it up onto the spindle. Get my bearing, my outer bearing, my spacer, washer, whatever you want to call it. My outer bearing in place. My washer in place. Spin the nut on. Still have my, I don't know what they call that, but retainer, whatever it's called. Whatever the technical name is for it, I don't know. But what I usually do with these is I spin the rotor in the opposite rotation of, counterclockwise as I tighten the nut. And then I'll back the nut off. I'm just going to cinch it down. I'm going to get close first. I don't need to get close. I like to spin it the other way as I tighten it down. Don't crush it. You don't need to crush these. I'm just going to snug it up as I'm spinning it. Make sure it seats good. I'm going to back it off. Okay? And then I'm just going to kind of really hand tighten it. That's about it. I don't want it any tighter than that. It's a little too tight. Should be able to just take that off of there. So as I spin it, just tighten it by hand. And that's all I want. I don't want it any tighter than that. Doesn't need to be. Just wear that seal out on the inside. My spacer. Put my spacer in, line up so I can get to my, move it a little bit here. See if I can get to my, there we go. My cotter pin hole, which I'm going to put the cotter pin back in. Cotter pin. Shut through. Get my nasty gloves off here. Spin that around. That's not going anywhere. Now, I have to get a new cap for it because I do have a new cap for it. Take the sticker off the inside of it. I don't want that in there. The other one was pretty tight getting in there, getting it started. This one will probably be the same. Alright, and it's not going anywhere. Clean this off, wipe it down, and then we'll go clean up the bracket, clean up the caliper, and get ready to put the rest of the brakes back together. thing I do like to do is an uncoated face on this rotor. Is take a little bit of that wheel bearing grease and put a thin coat on it. Helps keep the wheel from sticking to it and corroding around it, making it tough to get off. Doesn't take very long to do, and it does help. Next person who has to go in here, the wheel should come off without sticking to the rotor. It's always a good idea. Don't need a lot, you do need a thin coat. Okay.